Today, we will be investigating what it means to be Canadian. Initially, when I signed up for this topic, I assumed it would be easy. I am Canadian, my parents are Canadian, even my grandparents are Canadian. If anyone would know what it means to be Canadian, I would. So I thought. I began to think about my prominent traits, my customs, my identifying characteristics, and everything like that, thinking this would lead me towards being able to identify what a Canadian looks like. See, I'm a white female. I'm 5'8", I work full time, and I go to school. I'm Christian, born and raised. I celebrate Christmas. And I take pride in my family and my dog. I have a beagle. But after comparing this to the traits of my friends, family, and coworkers, all of my fellow Canadians, I realized I wasn't even on the right road to finding out what it means to be Canadian. Every Canadian looks different, has different values, practices, and cultures. Canadians are diverse in a unique way. Being Canadian means accepting and embracing the multicultural society that we live in. Canada actually introduced multiculturalism as a national policy in 1971. This is significant because legislation reflects the values of the citizens within the community. This act acknowledges and protects the dignity of the various cultures embraced by Canadians. The Multiculturalism Act also provides protection for the individuals and groups to identify as they wish and practice the culture and religion of their choosing without consequence. They get to be accepted in their practices as well, which is very significant. But the main physical thing that unifies Canadians as one is the connection through the land that they occupy, the resources they share, and the government that provides equality for everyone. See, the flourishing, diverse population of Canada today actually reflects back on the historical introduction of immigration in Canada. See, before the 1500s, the land that we call Canada was solely inhabited by the Aboriginal people. Until the French traveler that Jacques Cartier sailed to the St. Lawrence River. See, he traded furs and services with the Aboriginal people and took notice of the abundance of natural resources in the land that Canada had to offer. He had significant influence over the French people that chose to travel to Canada and attempted to colonize it after his original voyage. French immigration and settlement patterns is the main contributor to the to the prominent French presence in New Brunswick and Quebec to this day. Immigration is so impactful that this action resulted in French becoming one of our national language years later. The French did not colonize Canada by themselves, though. The British were large contributors to populating Canada. When the Long Wars ended in 1815 and opportunities were scarce in Britain, many people chose to immigrate to Canada to seek better opportunities. The British, the French, and the Aboriginal people all inhabited Canada, and their differences in culture posed great difficulties, but they all contributed to the growth and eventually the Confederation of Canada. See, but not all of Canada's history is picture perfect, though. It is important to mention that the oppression and the forced assimilation of the Indigenous people. This goes against all of the views of Canada embracing its multiculturalism. However, its significant events and wrongdoings such as this, such as the residential schools that happened in Canada for so long, that defined Canada's past, and they also shaped Canada's future, as this was a contributing factor to the multiculturalism policy across Canada. Now, Canada is more inclined to embrace the cultures of others, even to a point of dependency. Canada's diverse cultural population is a product of being the number one country for immigration in the world. Immigration is so essential to Canada that it would likely not be able to function without it. Immigrants contribute varied assets and skills and special knowledge that advances our technology and operations. Immigration improves relations and trade opportunities with the countries that people emigrate from. Immigrants are an asset in trade as they often have bilingual capabilities as well as knowledge of the customs and values of their countries of origin. Another benefit of immigration is the ability of Canada to utilize the influx of immigration to stabilize the Canadian workforce, as the generation of people retiring would far exceed the number of people in the workforce in the upcoming years if we didn't have young people entering the country looking for work. Finally, it is quite obvious that living in a country results in spending money in a country, such as paying your taxes and buying a house, anything like that. They contribute directly to the economy. Statistics even show that international students alone contribute $15 billion to the economy. This just supports that immigration is a fundamental part of Canada. Simply put, there is no Canadian culture per se. There is not one set of rules or practices that one could deem to fit the majority or even the average Canadian. Rather, it is more fitting to describe Canada as a melting pot of cultures, because there is such a variety of cultures practiced by Canadians. While individuals practice whatever cultures they choose, Canadian legislation is impacted by every culture as we live in a democratic society, so everyone's voice is heard and important. And even corporations are strongly influenced by the diverse population as they profit off of consumers. They want to appeal to the most people possible. This is why at a mall food court per se, you see burgers and fries, but you also see Thai food and Chinese food and Greek food and sushi and so much more. This is because Canada does not create an assimilation culture. And from legislation to business to policing, we try to represent the diversity and the needs of each individual. See, most cultures have geographic ties to a country of origin, and often that country often holds strong representation of that culture as well. This is often demonstrated by national symbols such as India's national flower being the lotus flower. This flower symbolizes the goddess Lakshmi, which is in the Indian mythology. And China deems that the Chinese dragon is one of their national animals. The Chinese dragon is significant in the representation of lots of mythology and history, and it holds so much meaning to the Chinese people, but it relates back to their culture and it relates back to their religions that they practice. See, Canada is home to the culture of the Aboriginal people. However, the Aboriginal culture and their religions and practices aren't practiced by all Canadians because we choose not to appropriate their culture out of respect. And the symbols of Canada, such as the moose, the beaver, the maple tree, and our prominent buildings such as the CN Tower and the Parliament Building, these symbols don't reflect a religion or customs or anything like that, but they reflect the prosperities of the land, many of which are the things that draw people to immigrate to Canada in the first place, such as was the case with the French and the British immigrating. They traded pelts, so seeing the beaver as a national symbol reflects on the immigration and everything that we value. See, and immigration is the thing, multiculturalism is the thing that Canada takes pride in, and we choose to reflect that within our symbols. In conclusion, regardless of where you come from, it is residing in Canada that makes you Canadian. Thank you so much for watching.